So we're going to call it the Trump Reciprocal Trade Act, or I'll leave the name Trump off as long as we do it. So when India, which is a very big abuser, he happens to be coming to meet me next week, and Modi, he's fantastic. I mean, fantastic man. A lot of these leaders are fantastic. You have to understand one thing. They're 100%. These people are the sharpest people. They're not a little bit backward. They are at the top. You know the expression, they're at the top of their game, and they use it against us. But India is very tough. Brazil's very tough. There are certain countries, I can tell you every one. I can give you from top to bottom. China's the toughest of all, but we were taking care of China with the tariffs.
The US presidential election will impact India's trade ties with the US, especially if Donald Trump emerges as the winning candidate. India-US trade in technology, energy, and defense cooperation might undergo a paradigm shift, as experts believe Trump is unlikely to continue with the current administration's policies. In other words, the ripple effects of the outcome of the US presidential race will be felt in India. What's important to note is that although Trump is likely to be tough on trade imbalances with other countries, just before the US election, Trump reaffirmed his friendship with Prime Minister Narendra Modi, while also showing keen interest in enhancing ties with India. As of date, the US is the largest destination for Indian merchandise exports. In 2023-24, imports into India from the US amounted to $42.2 billion, while exports from India were valued at $77.52 billion. During Trump's first presidency, India-US relations saw notable progress, but even during his first term, Donald Trump had labeled India a tariff killer. Trump has also criticized India's tax rates in the past, asserting they were excessively high. And Trump is not wrong. When Washington refused to exempt Delhi from increased taxes on steel and aluminium imports in 2019, India did impose retaliatory tariffs on several US products. What's also worth noting is that Trump, in his last stint as the US president, had withdrawn India's preferential trade treatment amid tariff dispute. Trump, back then, had also threatened sanctions if India proceeded with purchasing oil from Iran or moved forward with its plans to acquire Russian S-400 anti-aircraft missiles. In September, Trump spoke of US-India trade relations and called India a very big abuser of tariffs. During the same speech, however, he called India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi a fantastic man. His remarks on India and Indians didn't paint a clear picture of his stance. But what's clear is that during his presidency, the US is more likely to aggressively pursue US-centric trade policies, pushing India to reduce trade barriers or face tariffs. This could impact key Indian sectors like IT, pharmaceuticals, and textiles, which have considerable US market exports. A September report from market research firm Nomura suggests that, despite his tough stance on trade and the dollar, Trump could be good for India. The report highlighted two primary sources of trade friction between India and the US during a Trump presidency: the trade imbalance between the two countries, and tariffs. However, the report indicates that short-term disruptions, if any, are likely to be mitigated by America's China Plus One strategy, which aims to shift supply chains away from China to more favorable countries like India. This policy is expected to gain momentum under Trump.
But they say to him, we don't want your car unless you build your plant in China. And there's nothing wrong with saying that. That's smart people say that. We haven't said it for many years. I said it. We have a lot of plants going up with Apple and other things. I said, you got to build plants. You don't build plants here, we're going to put the tariffs on your products coming in from China. So we can do it quickly, but we're going to have what's called the Reciprocal Trade Act.
For India, the long-term benefits of the US anti-China stance are likely to persist. With the US moving away from reliance on Chinese manufacturing, India stands to gain as a trade and investment partner. A report by JM Financial Institutional Securities says, if Republicans win, it will accelerate tariffs on Chinese imports, reinforcing the China Plus One strategy and opening new export avenues for Indian auto component manufacturers. Trump's victory in the U.S. election might influence commodity prices. Higher tariffs on Chinese metals could prompt Indian metal exporters to benefit. Interestingly, the report says that Trump's stance on China is expected to further open up the U.S. market for Indian chemical exports. It will potentially offset the tariffs India faces, benefiting the country, the report mentioned. The textile and tile sectors, especially the Morbi ceramic industry, could see increased demand under Trump administration as tariffs on Chinese goods push U.S. buyers to seek alternatives. Trump's victory is also expected to benefit India's wire and cable industry, with possible enhanced demand from the U.S. due to the restricted imports from China. As per the report, the Indian pharmaceutical sector will be largely unaffected despite the Biden administration's policy to permit Medicare to negotiate drug prices, set to commence in 2026. On a positive note, Trump's proposal to reduce the corporate tax rate for domestic production from 21% to 15% could benefit IT services demand by alleviating budgetary constraints for U.S. firms. The Tax Foundation, a nonpartisan think tank focused on U.S. tax policy, estimates that Trump's tax policies could have a positive impact on the country's long-term GDP. JM Financial believes that, overall, a Trump presidency would have a limited negative impact on Indian IT firms.
Modi is fantastic. Fantastic man. Modi is fantastic. Fantastic man. We're going to have a reciprocal trade tax. We're going to have so if China charges 152%, which they do in a car, if we sell a car made here into China, which you don't do because the tax is too high, they say to all your companies and to others and to Elon Musk, who gave us, he is a great guy. He gave me the strongest endorsement. And he's a really wonderful guy. But they say to him, we don't want your car unless you build your plant in China. And there's nothing wrong with saying that. That's smart people say that. We haven't said it for many years. I said it. We have a lot of plants going up with Apple and other things. I said, you got to build plants. You don't build plants here, we're going to put the tariffs on your products coming in from China. So we can do it quickly, but we're going to have what's called the Reciprocal Trade Act. Now, I dealt with a senator, a very good senator, actually, but he knows nothing about trade. I said, here's what I want to do, Senator. I want to take the reciprocal trade. If they charge us 100%, we charge them 100%. He said, you mean they charge us, we charge them? You got me. How simple could it be? It was sort of cool because he doesn't care. He's a senator, doesn't care about trade, but you know. So we're going to call it the Trump Reciprocal Trade Act, or I'll leave the name Trump off as long as we do it.